The morning sun peeked through the gray clouds as Aisha stepped out of her small apartment, clutching her worn-out portfolio tightly. Today was the day she had been waiting for, her big job interview at one of the most respected marketing firms in the city. Her heart raced with excitement and nerves as she adjusted her slightly wrinkled blazer and made sure her hair was neatly tied back. She had spent weeks preparing for this moment, practicing answers to possible questions and carefully planning what to wear. She knew how important this opportunity was, and she couldn't afford to mess it up. The city was already buzzing with life. People rushed to work, some sipping coffee while walking, others talking loudly on their phones. The sidewalks were filled with hurried footsteps and impatient honks from cars stuck in traffic. Aisha moved quickly too, trying to stay on time, but the crowded streets made it difficult. She turned a corner and stopped briefly to check the address again on her phone. The office was still a few blocks away, and she needed to get there early, to leave a good impression. As she walked past the subway station, she noticed an old man struggling near the curb. He had a cane in one hand and was holding several large shopping bags in the other. His face showed clear discomfort as he tried to hail a taxi. Aisha watched him for a second, unsure whether to stop or keep moving. She was already feeling the pressure of time, but something about the man's helpless expression made her pause. Without thinking much longer, she approached him and offered her help. "Sir, do you need assistance?" she asked politely, adjusting her grip on her portfolio. The old man looked relieved and nodded. "Yes, thank you very much. I'm trying to get home, but no taxi seems to want to stop." Aisha smiled warmly and took one of the heavier bags from his hands. "Let me help you find one," she said, stepping onto the sidewalk and raising her free arm to signal a cab. Minutes passed and finally, a yellow taxi pulled over. Aisha made sure the man got inside safely before handing him his bag. "Thank you so much, young lady," he said with a kind voice. "You're very kind. You're welcome, sir." "Have a safe trip home," she replied with a friendly smile. She watched the taxi drive off before checking her watch. Oh no, she thought. She was now behind schedule. She quickened her pace, weaving through groups of people and ignoring the ache in her feet from her new shoes. The closer she got to the office building, the more anxious she became. What if they didn't wait for her? What if they gave the position to someone else? By the time she reached the lobby, she was out of breath and slightly sweaty. The receptionist gave her a polite but unimpressed look. "Good morning, Miss Aisha," she asked, flipping through a notebook. "Yes, that's me. I'm here for my 10 o'clock interview. I'm sorry, but the interviewer left nearly 20 minutes ago." He couldn't wait any longer. Aisha felt her stomach drop. 20 minutes? That meant she had missed the entire meeting. She opened her mouth to say something, but no words came out. Her mind raced with thoughts of all the effort she had put into preparing for this. All the practice, the research, the early morning, gone to waste. She managed a weak thank you before stepping away from the desk. Her shoulders sagged as she walked out of the building and stood under the shade of a tree nearby. Tears of frustration welled up in her eyes, but she blinked them back. This wasn't fair. She had helped someone in need, and in return, she lost the chance of a lifetime. For a moment, she considered calling the office again, maybe explaining what happened and asking if there was any way to reschedule. But deep down, she knew it was unlikely. Companies like that probably had hundreds of applicants, and missing the interview was probably enough to disqualify her completely. Still, she told herself that helping the old man had been the right thing to do. She couldn't imagine just walking past someone who clearly needed help. Even though it hurt, she believed that doing the right thing mattered, even when it didn't seem to pay off. That night she sat at home, replaying the day in her head. Her mother served her a warm cup of tea, sensing her sadness but not pushing for details. Aisha stared out the window, watching the rain fall against the glass. She wondered if she would ever get another chance like this. Her phone buzzed on the table. It was a message from her best friend, Sarah. "Hey, how did it go?" Aisha sighed and typed back, "Not great, I was late, they left without me." Sarah replied instantly, "I'm so sorry. But don't lose hope. Things have a way of working out." Isha forced a smile at the message but didn't feel much better. Still, she appreciated her friend's support. Maybe, just maybe, tomorrow would bring something better. The next morning, Aisha woke up feeling hollow. She had no interviews lined up, no job offers, nothing. She picked up her phone and absent-mindedly scrolled through job listings online, hoping to find something else to apply for. Before she could focus, her phone rang unknown number. She hesitated before answering. "Hello, good morning, Miss Aisha," a calm, confident voice greeted. "This is Elias Grant." Aisha's heart skipped a beat. Wait, Elias Grant? As in the Elias Grant? The CEO of the company she had interviewed with yesterday? She swallowed hard and replied, "Yes. Yes, this is Aisha. I hope I'm not catching you at a bad time. I wanted to personally speak with you." Her brain struggled to process what was happening. Was this real? Did she somehow get a second chance? "Of course not," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "I'm listening." Mr. Grant chuckled softly. "Well then, let me explain. Yesterday morning when you helped me with my bags and hailed a cab for me, I was testing something. I often walk around the city disguised as an average citizen to see how people behave when they think no one important is watching. Wait, you were that old man?" "Yes," he confirmed, "and your actions spoke volumes about your character. Many candidates would have ignored me, rushed past me, or pretended not to notice, but you stopped. You helped. And that says more about you than any resume ever could." Aisha could hardly breathe. She was stunned into silence. "So today, I'd like to invite you for another meeting, one where we can talk more seriously about your future with our company." She blinked, trying to make sure she wasn't dreaming. "Are you serious?" "Completely. Come in at 2 o'clock. We'll be expecting you, and—" With that, he ended the call. Aisha sat frozen, staring at her phone. Then slowly, a wide grin spread across her face. For the first time in 24 hours, she felt a spark of hope returning. Life had thrown her a curveball, but maybe, just maybe, it was about to change in the best way possible. Aisha sat motionless for a full minute after the call ended, her phone still pressed in her hand. Her heart pounded like a drum inside her chest. She had just spoken to Elias Grant, the CEO of one of the most powerful marketing firms in the country, and he had personally invited her back for another meeting. Not only that, but he had been the old man she helped on the street. The realization made her dizzy. Life had taken a strange turn, and now it was offering her a second chance. She jumped into action, pulling out her best dress from the closet and laying it carefully on the bed. It was a simple black blazer with matching pants, neat, professional, and something she had saved up just for this interview. She ironed it quickly, making sure there wasn't a single wrinkle. Then she gathered her notes, polished her resume, and packed everything neatly into her portfolio case. Every small detail mattered now. Her mother peeked into the room and noticed the sudden burst of energy. "What's going on? You look like you're preparing for something big." Aisha grinned widely. "I am. Mr. Grant called me. He wants to meet me again. And guess what? He was that old man I helped yesterday." Her mother gasped, covering her mouth. "Really? That's incredible. God is testing your patience, Beta. But always remember, good things come to those who do good." "I know," Aisha said, smiling as she zipped up her bag. "I just never thought doing the right thing would lead to something like this." She left the house early, determined not to be late this time. The city streets were just as busy as they had been the day before, but today, everything felt different. The sun shone brighter, the air smelled fresher, and even the noise of honking cars didn't bother her. She walked with confidence, her head held high, ready to face whatever came next. When she reached the office building, she was greeted by the same receptionist, who looked surprised to see her again. "Good morning, Miss Aisha. You're here for the 2 o'clock meeting?" "Yes, ma'am," Aisha replied politely. The woman nodded and picked up the phone. "I'll let them know you've arrived." Minutes later, a young assistant appeared and led Aisha through a set of elevators to the top floor. The higher they went, the more nervous she became. She tried to steady her breathing, reminding herself that she had already impressed the CEO once. Now she just needed to prove she belonged in this place. They stepped into a wide, elegant hallway with soft lighting and expensive-looking artwork lining the walls. The assistant opened a large wooden door and gestured for Aisha to enter. Inside was a spacious office with floor-to-ceiling windows offering a breathtaking view of the city skyline. Sitting behind a sleek desk was Elias Grant himself, looking far younger and sharper than he had the day before when he pretended to be an elderly stranger. He stood up and smiled warmly as she entered. "Good afternoon, Miss Aisha. Welcome back." "Good afternoon, Mr. Grant," she said, shaking his offered hand. "Thank you for giving me another chance." "Please have a seat," he said, gesturing toward a comfortable chair in front of his desk. "We have a lot to talk about." Aisha sat down, trying to keep her hands from trembling. She placed her portfolio neatly on her lap, unsure if she would need it or not. Mr. Grant leaned forward slightly, studying her with calm eyes. "Tell me, Aisha, how did you feel when you realized you had missed your original interview?" "Honestly? Disappointed," she admitted. "I worked really hard to prepare, and missing it hurt. But I also believed that helping someone in need was the right thing to do, even if it didn't seem fair at the time." "That's exactly why I wanted to meet with you again," he said, nodding. "In my years of running this company, I've learned that talent is common, but integrity is rare. Most people are focused only on themselves. They rush past others without a second thought. But you stopped. You showed kindness without expecting anything in return. That kind of behavior tells me more about a person than any test or interview ever could." Aisha listened carefully, absorbing every word. She had never thought of it that way before, that her actions outside of work could speak louder than anything. She wrote on paper. "So tell me," he continued, "what makes you want to work in marketing?" "Because I love storytelling," she said confidently. "Marketing isn't just about selling products, it's about connecting with people, understanding their needs, and sharing messages that matter. I believe that if done right, marketing can change minds, inspire action, and even bring communities together." Mr. Grant raised an eyebrow, clearly impressed. "Very well said. And where do you see yourself in 5 years?" "In a leadership role, guiding creative teams and developing strategies that make a real impact. I don't just want to work for a company. I want to help shape its future." He smiled, slightly. "You have ambition, which I admire. More importantly, you have vision. Now, let's see if we can match that vision with our goals." For the next hour, they talked about everything, from her previous projects to her thoughts on modern advertising trends. Mr. Grant asked thoughtful questions, and Aisha answered each one with honesty and clarity. She felt herself relaxing as the conversation flowed naturally. It no longer felt like an interview. It felt like a meaningful discussion between two professionals who shared a common goal. At the end of the meeting, Mr. Grant stood up and walked around his desk. He extended his hand once more. "Miss Aisha, I'd like to offer you a position with our company, not as a junior intern or entry-level employee, but as a senior marketing strategist. You will lead your own team, develop campaign ideas, and present directly to clients. This is a full-time role with competitive pay, benefits, and growth opportunities." Aisha's eyes widened. "Senior strategist? Me? You've earned it," he said simply. "Your resume got you in the door, but your character sealed the deal." Tears welled up in Aisha's eyes, but she blinked them away, not wanting to cry in front of the CEO. "Thank you so much. Mr. Grant, I promise I won't disappoint you. I know you won't," he said with a warm smile. "Welcome to the team." As Aisha stepped out of the office and into the hallway, her heart soared. She had gone from feeling defeated and hopeless to standing on the edge of a new beginning, all because she chose to stop and help someone in need, even when it seemed like the wrong decision at the time. Life had thrown her a curveball, but now she was swinging back harder than ever. Aisha walked out of Elias Grant's office with her heart pounding and a smile she couldn't wipe off her face. She had just been offered a senior marketing strategist position at one of the most respected firms in the city, something she had only dreamed of. As she stepped into the elevator, she looked at her reflection in the polished metal doors. Her eyes were bright, her posture straighter than ever. It was like she had grown taller in just a few minutes. The ride down to the lobby felt longer than usual, but when the doors opened, she stepped out with new confidence. The same receptionist who had given her a disappointed look the day before now smiled warmly. Everything seemed different now, not because the world had changed, but because she had. As she walked out onto the busy street, the city noise didn't feel overwhelming anymore. It felt alive, full of opportunities waiting for people brave enough to chase them. She called her mother first, barely able to contain her excitement as she shared the news. Her mother cried happy tears and thanked God for his kindness. Then she messaged her best friend Sarah, who immediately called her back and screamed so loudly into the phone that Aisha had to pull it away from her ear. That night, Aisha sat on her small bed, staring at the job offer letter in her hands. It still felt surreal. Just 2 days ago, she had been sitting in the same spot feeling defeated, wondering if she had missed her big break forever. Now, not only had she gotten another chance, but she had landed a role far beyond what she had hoped for. Life had proven once again that sometimes things happen in the most unexpected ways. The next morning, she arrived at the office early, dressed in her best outfit and ready to begin her first day. The assistant who had led her to Mr. Grant's office greeted her with a warm smile and handed her a folder with her welcome kit inside. Inside were her employee ID, laptop, notebook, and a short note signed by Mr. Grant himself. "Welcome to the team. I'm excited to see where your ideas take us." She was shown to her new desk, which was near a large window that let in soft sunlight. Her workspace was clean, modern, and already set up with everything she needed. Around her, people were typing, talking on phones, or walking around with coffee mugs in hand. It was a fast-paced, creative environment, and she could already feel the energy in the air. Her first week was filled with introductions, training sessions, and meetings with her new team. Everyone was professional yet friendly, and many of them were curious about how she had landed such a high-level position so quickly. Some asked if she knew someone in upper management. Others assumed she had an impressive background. But Aisha simply smiled and said, "I guess you could say I got lucky." Of course, she knew it wasn't just luck, it was kindness, patience, and the decision to help someone, even when it seemed inconvenient. And though she didn't tell everyone the full story right away, she made sure to carry that lesson with her every day. As weeks passed, Aisha settled into her role smoothly. She brought fresh ideas to the table, worked long hours when needed, and never hesitated to ask questions or learn something new. Her colleagues admired her work ethic and appreciated her positive attitude. She was quick to collaborate, easy to talk to, and always willing to lend a hand. Mr. Grant checked in on her regularly, sometimes stopping by her desk just to chat or ask for her opinion on a new campaign idea. He treated her like any other team member, giving honest feedback and encouraging her to think bigger. Under his mentorship, Aisha grew not just professionally but personally as well. She learned how to lead, how to present confidently, and how to trust her instincts. One afternoon, during a brainstorming meeting with the marketing team, Aisha suggested an idea for a social media campaign that focused on real-life customer stories. She pitched it with passion, explaining how emotional storytelling could connect more deeply with audiences. At first, some of the senior team members seemed skeptical, but Mr. Grant listened carefully, nodding along. After the meeting, he pulled her aside. "That was a strong idea, Aisha. You have a way of seeing things others might miss. Keep pushing forward." "Thank you, Mr. Grant," she said, beaming. "I'll keep working on it." And she did. Over the next few weeks, she refined her concept, gathered data, and built a presentation that impressed even the most experienced marketers in the company. When the final proposal was approved, she was given full control of the campaign, marking her first major project as part of the team. The campaign launched successfully, gaining attention across multiple platforms and boosting brand engagement. Customers loved the personal touch, and sales saw a noticeable increase. Aisha's name started being mentioned in conversations about rising talent within the company. Still, despite all the praise and recognition, she remained humble. She continued helping new interns, sharing tips with junior employees, and staying true to the values that had brought her here in the first place. She believed that success meant nothing if you forgot where you came from, and she never wanted to forget the rainy morning when she chose to help a stranger instead of rushing to her interview. Months later, during a company-wide event celebrating recent achievements, Mr. Grant stood on stage and addressed the entire team. He spoke about leadership, innovation, and the importance of integrity. Then he turned to Aisha and began telling her story. He explained how he had disguised himself as an elderly man to observe how candidates acted outside of formal settings. He described how Aisha had stopped to help him without hesitation, even when it cost her the interview. He told the crowd how impressed he had been, not just by her skills but by her character. Everyone in the room turned to look at Aisha, who blushed deeply as applause filled the hall. She gave a small wave, unsure of how to react. It wasn't every day that your boss publicly praised you in front of hundreds of people. When Mr. Grant finished speaking, he raised his glass and said, "To Aisha, proof that doing the right thing can change your life in the most unexpected ways." The room erupted in cheers, and Aisha felt tears prick her eyes. She looked around at her co-workers, at the people who had become friends and mentors, and realized how far she had come. From missing an interview to standing among the company's top performers, her journey had been anything but ordinary. Life hadn't followed a straight path for her. It had taken detours, twists, and turns, but each step had led her exactly where she was meant to be. And as she looked out at the smiling faces around her, she knew one thing for certain. This was only the beginning. Aisha's journey at the company had only just begun, but already she was making a name for herself. Her campaign had not only boosted sales, but also strengthened the brand's connection with its customers. People inside and outside the company started recognizing her talent, and Mr. Grant made sure to give her more responsibilities. She was no longer just a new face in the office. She was someone people turned to for ideas, opinions, and leadership. Despite the growing recognition, Aisha stayed grounded. She never let success change who she was. She still greeted everyone with a smile, helped interns find their way around the office, and stayed late when needed. Her co-workers admired her work ethic and appreciated how easy it was to talk to her. She didn't act like someone who had landed a dream job overnight. She acted like someone who knew how lucky she was and wanted to make the most of every opportunity. One afternoon, Mr. Grant stopped by her desk and leaned against the edge casually. "You've been doing great," he said, flipping through a printed version of her latest campaign report. "I've seen many young professionals come and go, but you're different." Aisha looked up from her laptop, surprised. "Thank you, sir. I'm just trying to do my best every day." "That's exactly why you're succeeding," he replied with a small smile. "But don't stop there. Push yourself harder. You have potential that goes beyond marketing strategy." She nodded, feeling both encouraged and challenged at the same time. She had always dreamed big, but now, working under Mr. Grant's guidance, those dreams felt closer than ever. Her next big challenge came when the company decided to launch an international campaign targeting markets in Europe and Asia. It was one of the biggest projects the marketing team had ever taken on, and Mr. Grant personally selected Aisha to lead the creative side of it. At first, she felt overwhelmed. The scale of the project was massive and the pressure was high. But instead of doubting herself, she dove into research, studied consumer behavior in different countries, and worked closely with the design and media teams to create content that would resonate across cultures. The weeks leading up to the campaign launch were filled with long hours, brainstorming sessions, and countless revisions. There were moments when Aisha felt exhausted, unsure if her ideas were strong enough or if she was even ready for such a big responsibility. But every time doubt crept in, she reminded herself of where she had started. From helping a stranger on a rainy morning to landing a senior position at one of the top firms in the industry. On the day of the campaign's official launch, the entire office gathered in the main conference room to watch the live stream of the event. Aisha sat near the front, gripping the armrests of her chair as the video played, showcasing months of hard work. When the final presentation ended and applause filled the room, she finally exhaled. Mr. Grant stood up and walked toward her. "You did well," he said simply. "This is going to open a lot of doors for you." She smiled, feeling a rush of pride and relief all at once. For the first time, she truly believed that she belonged here, not because of luck or chance, but because of her own effort and determination. As the months passed, Aisha continued to grow. She was promoted again, this time to head of the International Marketing Division. Overseeing campaigns in multiple countries, she traveled for business meetings, gave presentations to major clients, and mentored younger employees who looked up to her. Still, despite her rising status, she never forgot the values that had brought her here. One day, while walking back to the office after lunch, she noticed a young woman standing near the subway station looking lost and frustrated. The woman held a portfolio in her hands and kept checking her phone anxiously. Aisha slowed her pace and approached her gently. "Excuse me, are you okay?" she asked. The woman looked up, startled. "Yes, I think so. I'm just running late for an interview. I got lost trying to find the building." Aisha recognized the look immediately, the mix of excitement and nervousness that came with chasing your dreams. She smiled warmly. "Where is the interview?" "At Elias Grant's firm," the woman replied, adjusting her bag. Aisha chuckled softly. "Well, you're in luck. That's where I work. Let me walk you there." The woman's eyes widened. "Really? That's amazing." They started walking together, chatting along the way. Aisha listened as the woman shared her story, how she had spent years preparing for this moment, how important this job was to her future. It reminded Aisha so much of herself not too long ago. When they reached the lobby, Aisha introduced the woman to the receptionist and made sure she was checked in properly. Before heading back to her office, she turned to the young applicant. "Good luck," she said with a friendly smile. "Just be yourself. That's what matters most." As she walked away, she couldn't help but feel a sense of fulfillment. She had come full circle, from being the one who needed help to becoming the one offering it. And she realized that this was what success truly meant, not just reaching your goals, but using your position to lift others up along the way. Later that evening, as she sat in her apartment reflecting on everything, she thought about how life had changed for her in such a short time, from missing an interview to leading global campaigns, from being a hopeful applicant to becoming a leader in the company. She had learned that sometimes the path to success wasn't straight. Sometimes it twisted and turned in unexpected ways. But as long as you stayed true to yourself and did the right thing, good things would follow. She picked up her phone and typed a message to her mother. "Today I helped someone like I was helped once. I think I'm finally where I'm supposed to be." Her mother replied almost instantly, "God bless you, Beta. You are shining brightly now." Aisha smiled as she leaned back in her chair, staring out the window at the city lights. Life had taken her on an incredible journey, one that had started with a simple act of kindness and led to a future she could only have dreamed of. And she knew, without a doubt, that this was just the beginning of something even greater. Aisha's life was moving fast now, faster than she had ever imagined. The promotion to head of the International Marketing Division meant longer hours, bigger responsibilities, and more pressure, but she handled it all with the same determination that had brought her here. She had become a key player in the company, trusted with major decisions and often invited to meetings with top executives who once seemed untouchable. Despite the success and recognition, she never lost sight of where she came from. Every morning as she stepped into the office building, she remembered that rainy day when she missed her interview because she chose to help an old man. That moment had changed everything. Now, years later, she made sure to carry that lesson with her every single day. Doing the right thing wasn't always easy, but it always mattered. One afternoon, while walking back from a client meeting, she passed by a small cafe near the office. Through the glass window, she spotted a familiar face. It was Mr. Elias Grant, sitting alone at a table, reading a book and sipping coffee like any ordinary person. A soft smile formed on her lips. He still liked to blend in, just like he had done that day when she met him disguised as an elderly stranger. She hesitated for only a second before stepping inside. "Mr. Grant," she said warmly as she approached his table. "May I join you?" He looked up, surprised at first, then grinned. "Of course, Aisha. Always a pleasure." She took the seat across from him, placing her bag beside her. "I didn't expect to see you here. I thought you'd be buried in meetings today." "I needed a break," he admitted, closing his book. "Sometimes the best ideas come not from boardrooms, but from quiet corners like this." They talked for over an hour, discussing everything from new campaign ideas to the future of digital marketing. He asked about her team, her goals, and what she saw for herself in the next few years. She shared her thoughts openly, grateful for his continued mentorship even after all this time. At one point, he leaned forward slightly and said, "You know, Aisha, I've watched many people rise through the ranks here. Some burn out quickly, others struggle to keep their values intact. But you've managed to grow without losing who you are. That's rare." She smiled gently, touched by his words. "Thank you. I try to remember what brought me here, and I remind myself every day that success isn't just about titles or promotions. It's about making a difference even in small ways." He nodded approvingly. "That's why I knew you were the right choice from the start. You weren't just chasing a job, you were building something meaningful." Their conversation continued, flowing easily between business talk and personal stories. By the time they finished their coffee, Aisha felt lighter, energized by the reminder of how far she had come and how much further she could go. Back at the office, she got straight to work. Her latest project involved launching a new brand campaign, targeting young entrepreneurs. She believed in the idea deeply. Marketing wasn't just about selling products. It was about empowerment, inspiration, and helping others succeed. She poured herself into the project, leading brainstorming sessions, reviewing creative concepts, and presenting proposals to senior management. The campaign was a hit. Within weeks, it gained traction online, resonating with thousands of young professionals who saw themselves reflected in the message. Social media buzzed with positive feedback, and the company received messages from aspiring entrepreneurs thanking them for the support. During a team celebration lunch, Mr. Grant stood up and raised his glass. "To Aisha," he announced simply, "who continues to remind us all that true leadership comes not just from knowledge but from heart." The entire room clapped, some even cheered. Aisha blushed but smiled, feeling both humbled and proud. Even with all the achievements, there were still challenges. Not every campaign succeeded, not every idea was accepted, and there were times when things didn't go as planned. But Aisha had learned to handle setbacks with grace. She no longer feared failure. She saw it as part of the journey, a necessary step toward growth. One evening, after a particularly tough week filled with last-minute changes and difficult client negotiations, she sat at her desk late, staring out the large window overlooking the city skyline. The lights below twinkled, like stars, and the noise of the streets was muffled by the thick glass. She felt a sense of calm wash over her. She thought about her life before this, before the job, before the title, before the recognition. She had been just another hopeful applicant, trying to make her way in a competitive world. And yet, here, she was, standing tall, proving to herself that dreams really do come true when you work hard and stay true to your values. Her phone buzzed. It was a message from Sarah. "Hey, saw your campaign online. You're blowing up, girl." Aisha laughed and typed back, "Still the same old me, just with fancier emails." As she packed up for the night, she noticed a note left on her desk. It was from Mr. Grant. It read, "Keep pushing forward. Your story is still being written." She folded the note carefully and placed it in her notebook, a reminder of the journey she was still on. Walking out of the office, she felt a deep sense of gratitude. Life had given her more than she ever expected, and she was determined to use every opportunity to keep growing, learning, and helping others along the way. She stepped outside, the cool night air brushing against her skin. The city stretched out before her, full of possibilities. And somewhere in the distance, beyond the skyline, she knew her future was waiting, bright, unpredictable, and full of promise. With a final glance at the glowing lights, she smiled to herself and walked forward, ready for whatever came next. Years passed, and Aisha's journey at the company became the kind of story people whispered about during coffee breaks. From a missed interview to becoming one of the youngest executives in the firm's history, her rise was nothing short of inspiring. She had gone from helping a stranger on a rainy morning to leading global marketing strategies that shaped the future of the brand. By now, she had her own office on the top floor, just like Mr. Grant. It was smaller than his, but it felt like home. Large windows let in soft sunlight, and the city skyline stretched out before her like a painting. Her desk was always neat, filled with notebooks, a laptop, and a small framed photo of her family. On the wall behind her chair hung a simple quote, "Do the right thing, even when no one is watching." She still remembered the day Mr. Grant handed her the keys to this office. He had smiled and said, "You earned this, Aisha, and I hope you keep proving me right every single day." And prove him right she did. Under her leadership, the international marketing team grew stronger, reaching new audiences and launching campaigns that made headlines across the world. She brought fresh ideas to the table, encouraged creativity among her team, and never lost the humility that had first caught Mr. Grant's attention. Even as her responsibilities increased, she remained deeply connected to the people around her. She mentored young professionals, gave motivational talks at universities, and often visited local schools to speak with students who dreamed of working in business or marketing. She always told them the same thing. Success isn't just about talent or luck. It's about kindness, hard work, and staying true to yourself even when things don't go your way. One afternoon, while walking through the office hallway, she saw a familiar face. It was the young woman she had helped years ago, the one she had guided to her interview at the company. Now she wore a company badge proudly clipped to her blazer. Aisha smiled and approached her. "Well, look who's here. You made it," the woman beamed. "Yes, thanks to you. That day changed everything for me." Aisha chuckled softly. "I'm just glad I could help." They talked for a few minutes, catching up. The young woman had started as an intern and worked her way up to a junior marketing role. She credited Aisha's encouragement as the reason she kept pushing forward, even when things got tough. As they parted ways, Aisha felt a deep sense of fulfillment. This was what success meant to her. Not just personal achievements, but the ability to inspire others and help them find their own path. Mr. Grant, now in his late 60s, began stepping back from daily operations. Though he still came into the office regularly, he spent more time mentoring and less time making day-to-day decisions. One evening, over dinner at a quiet restaurant, he looked at Aisha and said, "You've become more than just a great employee. You've become someone this company can rely on for the future." She blinked, surprised by the weight of his words. "That means a lot, Mr. Grant." He nodded slowly. "I've been thinking, soon, I'll be ready to step down completely. When that time comes, I want you to take my place." Aisha's breath caught in her throat. She stared at him, unsure if she had heard correctly. "You mean?" "Yes," he said simply. "You've earned it, and I believe in you." For a moment she couldn't speak. The idea of becoming CEO felt surreal. It was something she had never imagined for herself, not even in her wildest dreams. But as she sat there, looking at the man who had once disguised himself as a stranger to test her character, she realized how far she had come. Over the next year, Mr. Grant prepared her for the transition. He introduced her to key investors, taught her how to lead board meetings, and shared the lessons he had learned from decades of running the company. Aisha absorbed everything, determined to honor his legacy while also bringing her own vision to the role. When the official announcement came, Elias Grant stepping down and Aisha taking over as CEO, the entire company buzzed with excitement. Some were surprised, many were inspired, and all agreed that she deserved it. At her first press conference as CEO, Aisha stood confidently at the podium, facing a crowd of reporters and industry leaders. Cameras flashed, microphones were raised, and the room fell silent as she took a deep breath. "I know many of you are curious about how I got here," she began, her voice steady. "So let me tell you a story. It starts with a rainy morning, a missed interview, and a decision to help someone in need. That choice led me here, to this position, to this company, and to this moment." The audience listened intently as she continued. "I believe that leadership isn't just about power or titles. It's about integrity, compassion, and the courage to do what's right even when it seems inconvenient. And I promise, as long as I lead this company, those values will remain at the heart of everything we do." Applause broke out, filling the room with warmth. As Aisha stepped away from the microphone, she met Mr. Grant's gaze from across the stage. He gave her a proud nod, and in that moment she knew she was exactly where she was meant to be. Life had taken her on an incredible journey, one built not just on talent, but on kindness, perseverance, and belief in doing the right thing. And, as she stood tall, ready to lead the company into a new chapter, she knew this was only the beginning of what was still to come.